Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are the way.
Mother Nature woke up on the right side of the bed today. It is a beautiful Sunday in downtown Cincinnati, nary a cloud in the blue skies above. And the final game of what has turned into, after our rainout yesterday, of a two-game series between the Cubs and the Reds. Hi again, everybody, alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. We're excited to see again the very, very impressive first-year Red right-hander, Anthony DeSclafani.
Tom, I think you look at DeSclafani, young guy. First thing you want to find out, will he challenge the strike zone, especially against interdivisional opponents? He's only walked 4 batters in 21 games, all 3 of those games interdivisional opponents. Will he continue to throw strikes and challenge hitters as he goes through the second and third time through the lineup? Well, yes, he has done that. He's only allowed 9 hits in 21 innings. This guy not only has it in the head, Tom, he's got it in the belly. And right now, he is game on.
Take a look at Reds rookies going back over 100 years and where DeSclafani slides in at a very cool 0.86 ERA. Now, he has a tall order here today. He locked up with Cubs starter Jake Arrieta already this year and beat Arrieta, although this guy is unquestionably the Cubs ace right now.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think when Arrieta first came to the big leagues, he didn't have those kind of numbers. He did not have that great start. It was in Baltimore. Things were very difficult for him. But as soon as he put on a Cubs uniform, working with Chris Bosio, their pitching coach, he has been dominant, especially against the Reds in their ballpark. Now, last year here, things were a little different story. The Reds got to him. 6 hits, 6 runs. That's what the Reds will hope for today.
Well, one guy certainly that DeSclafani is going to have to keep quiet is a red-hot Anthony Rizzo. He is rolling right now. Had the big home run on Friday night. Jim Day has that and more. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Ohio is brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
After our rain out yesterday, a totally different forecast for us. We've got sunny skies that'll be out there, especially for the beginning of the game. 54, so still a little on the cool side, but incredible baseball weather. 58 and mostly sunny toward the 7th inning. By the end of the game, a few extra clouds pop up, but we are close to 60 degrees. So no rain issues for us today, so let's turn things around. Let's go, Reds.
No rain, thank goodness. Jim Day with you here on the field. We've heard all about the Cubs youngsters, Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant, Addison Russell. But you also have to include Anthony Rizzo in that mix. Even though he's been with the Cubs for a few seasons, he's still a young guy. And Friday night, we found out that you can't overlook this guy in the middle of the lineup. 3 for 4, home run, 2 RBIs, and scored 2 runs. He is leading the league right now in on-base percentage. Hitting from the left-hand side, they have a formidable middle of their lineup just like that. And if they stay healthy, these guys are going to be raking for years. Anthony Rizzo is in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. Last 9 games here at Great American Ballpark. These are not numbers that Reds pitchers want to see. 344 average, 2 doubles, 6 home runs, and 9 runs driven in. Reds looking for a 2-game split. Anthony DeSclafani goes to the hill for Cincinnati. Tom Brenneman and the Cowboy Jeff Brantley are up next with the call of Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cincinnati, and the Reds have taken the field wearing their red jerseys as they primarily do on day games here at Great American Ballpark. Let's take a look at the Cubbies starting lineup under their first-year manager Joe Madden. It's presented by Lexus. Dexter Fowler, Jorge Soler, Anthony Rizzo to start it. Chris Bryant, the rookie at third, Miguel Montero catching, Starlin Castro at short. A latter third of Chris Coughlin, the pitcher Jake Arrieta, and Addison Russell is a shortstop batting ninth. And on the mound for the Reds, grew up in New Jersey, pitched collegiately for the Florida Gators, is 24-year-old right-hander Anthony DeSclafani, and boy, are those numbers impressive.
They really are, Tom. But what you have to understand is this is the second time around that he will have faced this Cubs ball club. This will be a big challenge for DeSclafani, not simply because it's the Cubs, but preparing for a team that you're facing for the second and possibly, as the season goes on, third and fourth time interdivision rivalries.
Now, in each of DeSclafani's 3 starts as a Red, he has worked his way through the batting order for a third time. It's one of our storylines brought to you by Elk & Elk. Normally, you get down to that third time and that number makes a big leap. How impressive. The first and the third. Not a single hit the first time through the order.
I think a lot of that has to do with his ability to throw strikes, challenge the strike zone early, get outs quick early in the ball game. They don't get to see all of his pitches.
All right, here we go. After a heartbreaking loss for the Redlegs in extra innings on Friday night. 7-3-11. A rain out yesterday. And we're set to go on this Sunday afternoon. By the way, no makeup date has been announced for the rain out yesterday yet. Dexter Fowler looks at a strike and we're underway. Laz Diaz, a home plate umpire. Chris Guccione is at first base. Corey Blazer at second and Jeff Nelson, the umpire, at third. It's 0-2 on Fowler. 15 out of 62 this first year Cub. A home run, 4 runs batted in. Broken bat. And Fowler looking for a new piece of lumber, the third pitch of the game.
Jorge Soler, the man standing on deck, swung the bat quite well against the Reds when they were in Chicago. The 2 guys that are hot in this lineup now, Rizzo and the recently recalled Chris Bryant. They're hitting back-to-back 3 and 4.
And really the guy having the best season of all the Cubs is hitting in the 6th hole again today, and that would be Starlin Castro as far as batting average is concerned, and he's a team leader in runs batted in. He has 11 of them. One ball and 2 strikes on Fowler, leading off the game. And a little soft liner that he dumps into left field. So that is the first hit allowed by DeSclafani. The first time through the batting order in 3 starts, and now a 4th wearing a Reds uniform.
Looked like he tried to bring a breaking ball inside and just didn't quite get it in there enough.
So there, 18 home runs, 66 runs batted in. He has 2 home runs. They came in the same game against Reds pitching, the first meeting of the year between these 2 teams a week ago last Monday night at Wrigley Field. He got Mike Leake for one of them, and the second one was a huge home run which tied the game. A game the Cubs would win, like yesterday, in extra innings. 1 ball and 1 strike on Soler. The Reds have played 7 one-run games already this season. The Cubs have played a whopping 8 one-run games, the most in baseball.
Saw that wild swing there by Soler on a fastball down in the dirt. Guessing fastball, got the fastball, but it was out of the strike zone and he swung anyway. That's why he has 26 Ks already. Don't make a mistake to this big fella.
Got him swinging again, down and out of the strike zone. And a strikeout for DeSclafani, 1 away in the inning.
Well, if he's going to swing at my fastball in the dirt, let's see if he'll swing at this breaking ball about 3 feet outside. Yeah.
So as Jim Day talked about during the pregame show, here comes Anthony Rizzo. He enters the day leading all of baseball with an on-base percentage of .493. The next closest is Matt Holliday of the Cardinals at .478. Rizzo has reached base safely 15 times during the 5 games so far on this Cub road trip. The road trip which they've won 3 of 5. Split 4 in Pittsburgh and won the opener here on Friday night.
You know, Tom, it looks to me as though Anthony Rizzo, when he comes to the plate the first time, he wants to see a lot of pitches. He's content to drive the ball from the left center field gap to the left field line. As the game goes on, he becomes more aggressive. That's when he'll get the bat head out and pull the ball to right field. It's almost that is his game plan.
Theo Epstein is the president of baseball operations for the Cubs. Of course, made a name for himself as the architect of a pair of world championships in Boston. And Jed Hoyer has been his right-hand man almost during his entire tenure. And I say almost because Hoyer left Boston after the Red Sox had drafted Rizzo. When Hoyer went to San Diego, he made a trade to acquire Rizzo. And then when Hoyer was named general manager of the Cubs under Epstein, they traded with San Diego to get Rizzo in a Cub uniform. So they really think a lot of this guy.
And rightly so. I mean, he's just continued to get better and better as time has gone on. Did he have his struggles early? Sure he did.
This entire Cub infield, as we told you here on Friday night, so young. Each member 25 years old or younger. It's only the 3rd time since 1976 that has been the case for a Cub team. Last year, at the end of the year, for 1 game. But then you go back to 1976. Runner goes back up the middle, and that is a tailor-made double play. That was not an easy play for Cozart, and he handled it flawlessly.
Great defensive positioning.
Reds are coming up when we return. Since replacing Dusty Baker, presented by Meyer. Billy will lead things off, followed by Joey Votto and Todd Frasier. Brandon Phillips, Brendan Bosch in the lineup, replacing Jay Bruce. And Marlon Byrd in left. Zach Cozart, Brian Pena, Anthony DeSclafani, the latter third. Since coming over from Baltimore, Jake Arrieta has become the #1 man in this Cubs starting rotation, with John Lester or not here in 15.
Look, a lot of his pitches, Tom, they are either sinkers, hard running fastballs away from lefties, but elevated slightly where they would be on the hands of a righty. But he has got that slider down and away from a righty and down and into a lefty. Seems like it's almost a patented pitch for him, and that's his money pitch.
Billy 14 of 61, a home run, a double, a triple, a run batted in, leads the league with 12 stolen bases. He looks at a strike. Hamilton had 3 steals, 2 runs scored, 2 hits here on Friday night.
If you remember back to the start that Arrieta had against the Cubs in Chicago, he retired the first 9 batters he faced before the Reds were able to get on the board, and then that was all they got. They sent 8 batters to the plate in the 4th, and that was it. They got 3 runs, just happened to make them stand up.
They got Billy to chase one there, rolls over the pitch right to Rizzo. We look at the Cubs on defense, presented by Ford. We talked about all the youth in their infield. The veterans Conklin and Fowler in left and center. First full year for Jorge Soler. They brought over Miguel Montero in a deal from the Diamondbacks. Votto in a series opener 0 for 3, walked twice, once intentionally, drove in a run with a ground out, and that was after going hitless, batting into 3-0 that final game of the Milwaukee series. Votto down a strike. Reds have the Brewers coming into town for 3 beginning tomorrow night. And that one is in the air to right field. Drifting to his left, Soler. The first 2 retired here in the first inning. It is a cool day. Temperatures in the low 60s. So you don't figure the ball will travel well today. Very cool.
Well, normally for Arrieta, the ball doesn't travel a whole lot anyway. No home runs allowed in 53 innings pitched, and that goes back to the start previous to when he pitched here against the Reds and gave up those 6 runs in 4 innings. He just does not give up the long ball.
Nothing in 1 to Todd Frasier at .254, 4 home runs, second only to Votto in runs batted in with 13. 1-1 to Todd Frasier. He had 2 hits, was on base 3 times here Friday night. Broken bat roller at Castro. And a 1-2-3 opening inning for Arrieta. We're on our way to the second inning of a scoreless game. Hamilton flanked by Bird and Brennan Bosch. The infield of Frasier, Cozart, Phillips, Votto, Pena hanging the signs again for Bosch. Today is his first start in right field. His other 2 starts in a Reds uniform have come in place of Marlon Bird out in left. The heralded rookie, ranked the #1 prospect in all of Major League Baseball a year ago, clubbing better than 40 home runs, is Chris Bryant. Got jammed with that pitch by DeSclafani, and that's easy for Joey Votto. 1 out. Miguel Montero played his entire career until 2015, coming up through the Diamondbacks organization. A good solid player. That ball's in the air, well hit. Deep left field. Montero gives him a 1-0 lead.
That's just a straight ambush right there. You get a kid on the mound that is just pumping strikes left and right. Veteran Montero comes to the plate. He goes and gets it.
Third home run of his 17 hits so far as a Cub for Montero.
See where that pitch was. That was not a bad pitch, but Montero had made up his mind coming out of the batter's box. This guy's pounding the zone. I'm going to get a fastball. And he did.
So here we see today 6 batters in, where DeSclafani in his first 3 starts as a Red had not allowed a single hit. And now he allows a run the first time through the batting order. And of course that snaps 16 consecutive scoreless innings for DeSclafani. He had gone the 7 innings in his start prior to the Cubs start. This ball is hit hard the other way. Bosch will get there. And Castro retired 2 away in the inning. He had a great start, 8 innings, 2 hits, no runs in Milwaukee, getting the win in that one. And now a home run he surrenders in the 2nd inning after a scoreless first.
And I think for DeSclafani, as he moves along in his career, he's going to understand there are guys that will jump on that first pitch, even if it's a good pitch as that one was to Montero. Those are the guys. First pitch breaking ball. You get that dribbler to second base. But that only comes with experience and time.
Smokes one to the gap in left center field. Hamilton over to cut it off. But Coghlan will pull up with a 2-out double. He had the big home run in the 7th inning here on Friday night. With the Reds in front 3-2, that home run tied the game.
Another breaking ball. This is the same pitch that Fowler hit with 2 strikes into left field to lead off the ball game. And this ball just spins in the middle of the strike zone.
Joe Madden has batted the starting pitcher 8th in the lineup in each of his first now 17 games. The Cubs went nearly 16,000 games. They went 100 years in a row where the starting pitcher hit outside of the 9th position in only 1 game until Joe Madden arrived this year, coming from Tampa.
Well, maybe he's trying to shake it up. His first 100 years didn't work.
And so far they're doing something the Cubs haven't done much of for a long time, and that's get off to a good start. They have the 4th best winning percentage among all teams in the National League, behind only the white-hot New York Mets. They lost on Friday but came right back to win again yesterday over the Yankees. They're 10 games over 500. You have the Cardinals at 12-4, the Dodgers at 11-6, and the next best record in the league belongs to Joe Madden's Cubs. inning over. A home run by Montero has given the Cubs in the second inning a 1-0 lead. Dave Heilman from Cincinnati will win that beautiful Tundra. And you can register for your chance. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Our T-Mobile game changer, as Cowboy mentioned the last inning. Stingy with the long ball is Jake Arrieta. Fewest home runs allowed since the beginning of last year. The next closest, Adam Wainwright, double the 5 allowed by Arrieta. And of course, really the sad news, the bad news, is Phillips throws to Castro, who throws in the dirt, picked out of there by Rizzo at the other end. 1 pitch and 1 out. That Adam Wainwright, after coming out of the batter's box yesterday, ruptured his Achilles tendon and looks like he's going to miss the rest of the year. That's really too bad. One of the great pitchers, one of the great competitors, and one of the real good guys in the game of baseball. Well, what a competitor.
Well, you hate to see that for any player that has made it to this level and has played as long as Wainwright has. But as you said, the kind of guy and the person that he is, you don't wish that on anybody.
If you have free time to go check out the number of innings pitched by that cat during the last 7-8 years,
that's a bunch.
I mean, it's extraordinary. You know, we talk about guys who've gone 215, 220 during the regular year and all that kind of thing. Well, Wainwright every year is pitching in the playoffs. More times than not, they're going deep in the playoffs. I mean, he's knocking on the door 270, 280 plus innings every single year.
He's thrown a lot. He's thrown through a lot of injury too.
Brennan Bosch had such a great spring. Made the club as a non-roster invitee during spring training, where he led the category in virtually every category. Led the club offensively. Cubs lead 1-0. We're in the second inning on a home run by Miguel Montero. Got some giddy up on that fastball, 94 miles per hour, and that's just off the inside corner. A full count to Brennan Bosch.
Tom, you watch the setup of Arrieta. He almost looks like he's in the stretch right now. There's nobody on base, but that front foot goes back towards first base.
2 out.
Almost to give him a little bit of a head start or a little bit of the wind-up simulation. But when you watch Arrieta, watch this front foot. It's going back towards first. Now he picks it up and goes. When you're out of the stretch, you can't take that foot back towards first base. You have to pick the foot up immediately. That's why I think it's important for the Reds. If they can get this guy in the stretch, you got to cash it in right then. They did that in the 4th inning in Chicago. They'll need to do that here today to win this ball game.
Marlon Byrd digging in, starting to show signs of snapping out of a really first 2-week funk. He had the line out the final game in Milwaukee his first time up, then hit a 2-run home run his first as a Red. And he came back here and had a couple of hits his first 2 times up, a single to right, a double, and a run scored.
Just looks like he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable, a little more hand movement. Everything looked really dead early. His hands were just really stiff, really tight. And you don't know if that's just because it's a new team, a new season. I mean, it could be a million different things. But he looks like he's a little looser at the plate. Looks like his hands got a little bit more movement to him. And I think any hitter will tell you, if you start from a dead stop, the ball's going to eat you up. And that's what it looked like early. Now he's got some hand movement. Looks like he's got a little bit of rhythm. And he's getting to those plus fastballs.
Arrieta ahead in the count of Marlon Byrd, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And that one pushed to the right side. And a quick 1-2-3 inning for a second time by the Cub right-hander. End of 2. The Cubs lead on a Miguel Montero home run, 1-0.
Ohio. I'm Jim Day. Brennan Bosch manning right field today in place of Jay Bruce. He was also in the lineup yesterday. And Brian Price said obviously he wants to keep his bench players fresh, but he also admitted that Bruce has been scuffling to begin this season and he could use a day to sit back and perhaps watch, catch his breath. We've seen that many times. But with yesterday's rain out, Price had a chance to put Bruce back in after so-called off day, but chose to keep Bosch in there. So very interesting at this early in the season that he is wanting Jay Bruce to sit back and end his scuffle. And he also said that at some point he's going to have to get a day off for Cozart and Votto. Those two have yet to have a day. Boys.
All right, Jimbo, thank you very much. That was good morning, good afternoon, and good night for Addison Russell. And that has become a habit for him in this series. He has 6 at-bats, has struck out 5 of the 6.
Nice little breaking ball. This time DeSclafani gets on top of that slider. Still not biting the way he wants it to bite. The bat went underneath the breaking ball there.
Straight up in the air on the first pitch by Dexter Fowler, and that's out of play. Strike one. He singled into left center on a 2-strike pitch leading off the game.
Speaking of DeSclafani's slider, I thought there were some points in time in spring training where he appeared to have a slider you wish for, not one that you can actually teach. But just because you hold it the same way and just because you release it the same way doesn't mean it's going to be the same every day or every pitch. It's a continual adjustment depending on how your arm feels and depending on where you're positioning on the mound and the ballpark you're playing in.
Two balls and a strike on Fowler, and now he wants timeout. DeSclafani taking a little while to get on the same page as his catcher Brian Pena, and now they're set to go, and here we go. Frasier will back up on the second hop. Still time to throw out Fowler, who runs well. 2 in a row retired by DeSclafani to open this third. As always, we'll have our Miller Time moment coming up later today during the game, and it's brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, what a beautiful day. Temperatures expected to remain right where they are in the low to mid 60s, but bright sunshine this entire week. And there are tickets available for all 3 games of the Milwaukee series. We have night games tomorrow and Tuesday, day game Wednesday. And then the temperature's really supposed to climb over the weekend. Reds will be out of town down in Atlanta. Soler on the ground in the first perfect inning of the afternoon for Anthony DeSclafani. Cozart Pena, the pitcher, coming up. Reds trailing 1-0.
April in the OHIO on Fox Sports Ohio. You can win a great sports experience, lunch with catcher Brian Pena, an autographed jersey, and a $500 cash card. Text April in Ohio to 733-733 to enter. Message and data rates may apply. I'm Jim Day. Zach Cozart steps in, and he's got 4 home runs on the season, batting over 306 to be exact. He's equaled his home run total from last year, and he had a pretty interesting comment as he grounds one to third. He said, they asked him about why he's got such power all of a sudden. He said, my son Cooper is only 7 months old and he weighs 27.5 pounds. Quote, quite a load. Holding him has built up my shoulder, and maybe that's why I'm hitting home runs, end quote. I'm sure some fathers with some big babies could relate to that.
Well, Jim, I saw Cooper yesterday with Mom on the elevator coming upstairs prior to the game, and I'm going to tell you what. 27 pounds. Maybe some haven't had kids yet, so they can't relate to that, or maybe it's been a long time since they had babies. This kid is a brute. Big old head, big old cheeks, arms, legs. It's a big boy.
Healthy baby.
Amen to that. Here's Pena. First 7 retired by Arrieta, and he's not really even worked up a sweat. He's thrown 23 pitches, 21 of them, if you take away the 2 in this at bat, to retire the first 7. The Reds already this year have been at their best when they have been more patient hitters, as we have seen, especially Milwaukee for the first 2 games. Not as much the last 2. They were just really well pitched games by Nelson and Loesch, who, by the way, we'll see again starting tomorrow night. Nelson in the opener. And the Reds have basically tinkered around with their rotation a bit, as Jim mentioned earlier. So Jason Marquis, who was supposed to have started today if we played yesterday, will now pitch tomorrow. They're going to back up Homer Bailey an extra day to make his 3rd start of the year, which means Mike Leake will start in the series finale against Milwaukee here on Wednesday afternoon. First strikeout for Arrieta. 2 away, not anybody on in the 3rd inning, and the Cubbies leading 1-0. One of the interesting stories, which we really never got a chance to talk much about, were the comments made by Brian Price in relation to Tony Cingrani, and how he had said after the game Friday night, another game in which Cingrani did not pitch, another extra inning game in which he did not pitch. And we talked about how Cingrani last pitched on Tuesday, April the 14th, and here we are on April the 26th today. And in that game, he only pitched 1/3 of an inning. But after watching the continued struggles of so many others down in that bullpen, Brian Price made the comment that now it's Cingrani's turn to get a chance. We have wondered, just during telecast, is Cingrani okay? And apparently he's just fine. But they just have elected not to bring him into games where it looks like now he's going to get that opportunity. And I'm sure Tony's very excited about it. He was not happy about being moved from the competition for a spot in the starting rotation about a little more than halfway through the games during spring training. He was told that he would be sent to the bullpen. Wasn't happy about it. You can't blame a guy for that. He really didn't make any waves by coming out and burying anybody. He just said that he would rather be a starting pitcher. 3-2 on DeSclafani.
Well, if you remember, not DeSclafani, but Tony Cingrani, when he was drafted, he was a closer. And that was where he enjoyed his most success at the collegiate level. The Reds turned him into a starter, and he did quite well in that role in the minor leagues. The problem all came about when he got to the big leagues and gave up a few home runs because he was throwing 85, sometimes 90% fastballs in a game. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about, all right, well, he needs to throw more breaking balls, more change-ups. It didn't quite go well.
9 straight retired by Arrieta, and his Cubs at the end of 3 lead 1-0. Fox Sports Ohio brought to you by Meyer. By your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further. And by Cincinnati Children's, according to U.S. News and World Report, the third best children's hospital in America. And we believe even better than that. You'll look up 4th Street there, right along Fort Washington Way and 3rd Street. Come right over top and roll right in the Great American Ballpark. Big crowd. Sellout crowd despite all the rain and so forth, eventually leading to a cancellation of the game yesterday. I tell you what, they're nearly jam-packed in here today on this pristine Sunday afternoon. Rizzo, a ground ball double play. In the old days, it would have been a single into center field. But now with all the shifting going on in baseball, and we see the Reds again putting the defensive shift on Rizzo. 3 infielders to the first base side of second base. Hit a ground ball right back up the middle that Cozart was standing there waiting on, and turned it into a double play in the opening inning. Rizzo, Bryant, Montero in this 1-0 Chicago lead in the top of the 4th inning. Three balls and a strike to Rizzo. Straight up in the air and out of play, a full count.
Rizzo, for the most part, is going to swing the bat if it's close. But he'll take a walk if you're going to pitch around him. He's got 11 already.
Rizzo, a National League All-Star for the first time last year, clubbed a career-high 32 home runs. Seems like he's been around forever, yet as we brought up earlier, just 25 years young. And he'll take the walk on a fastball that misses on 3-2. You can watch out of market games live or on demand in True HD with MLB.TV Premium. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. That's the first walk of the game given up by the Reds right-hander. Leadoff man aboard in the Chicago 4th inning for Chris Bryant. Bryant had 2 hits, was on base 3 times, stole a base, scored a run on Friday night. Popped up his first time up today. And DeSclafani jumps ahead of him at 0-2. Runner goes. Pitch taken and no chance. And we talked about it the other night. Reds pitchers did not really pay attention to base stealers at time in that game. And Rizzo now for the 3rd time this year catches the Reds off guard.
And all Rizzo did there was just time the consecutive moves to the plate by DeSclafani. That's now his 5th stolen base.
Rizzo moves into scoring position with no one out. 2-2 on Rizzo, and the pitch coming to the plate. Ground ball to 3rd, right between the legs of Frasier. They're on the corners with nobody out.
Looks as though Todd looks up right as the ball gets to him to check to see if the runner is coming. And at that point, too late.
3 errors so far on Frasier. And now DeSclafani with a ton of work to do. And should have been out number 1 with the runner standing at second because Rizzo was not going to advance on the ground ball to the third baseman.
It's a couple of mistakes there in the inning by the Reds. Actually, it's 3. A leadoff walk. You allow the first baseman to steal second because you're not paying attention, and then you make that error.
Now you face Montero. First pitch swinging again. That's what he did back in the second inning, and he homered to the seats in left center field. Very low batting average for Montero to begin his Cubs career, but he's making the most of his 7 hits. 3 of them have reached the seats. 0-1 pitch singled into left field, and scoring is Rizzo to make it 2-0 Chicago. 2 RBIs in the game for Miguel Montero.
Tried to go away with the fastball again. Almost the identical location as far as the corner of the plate. This pitch a little bit higher than the home run. May want to try another spot.
So now Castro with 1 in, 2 on, and none out. Castro flied out to the right fielder Bosch, his only time up today. One thing DeSclafani is not doing today that we've seen him do through his first 3 starts as a Red is throw to get ahead with first pitch strikes. Only 7 out of 15 in that category so far today. Two and one.
DeSclafani needs a ground ball to an infielder in the worst way right now. Now, there's something going on with that fastball there, Tom. That's the same pitch that he walked Rizzo on. Looks like he's trying to run the ball away towards his arm side, in on the righties, away from the lefties, but he's falling towards the first baseline. We've not seen him do that in any of his previous 3 starts. That's a mechanical deficiency.
Tapper to Cozart, his only play is to first. He makes a nice play to get Castro, but the runners will advance. Bryant from second to third, and Montero to second from first. Well, you're already down 2-0. Do you think about walking Coghlan with a base open here and face Arrieta with 1 out and the base is loaded?
I think there's no doubt about it. The reason that I say that is because the guy that's in the other dugout in Arrieta, he is just not going to give up a whole lot of runs.
And that's exactly what will occur. This inning started with a walk. Anthony Rizzo stole second base. An error by Frasier allowed Bryant to reach. Montero knocks in a run with a single. After the ground out by Castro, we get the intentional walk to load him up. Arrieta's 0 for 8 as a batter.
And granted, anyone with a bat can be dangerous, whether they're a pitcher or not. But if you look at the history of the 2 guys that are coming up, Arrieta struck out 5 times already to begin this season. And the kid in the number 9 hole, granted, he's going to be a pretty good major league hitter, but he's struck out 5 of his last 6 at bats, and they've come right here.
We always got to wonder when you're playing against a Joe Madden team, would he consider a squeeze play in this situation? Frasier is about a step behind the bag at third. Votto with 1 foot on the grass at first. Strike one on the inside corner.
I think if Joe Madden was bona fide sure that Arrieta could get the bunt down, that might be something that would run through his mind. But Arrieta, not the best of bunters.
0-2. Got him swinging. Pena hangs onto that pitch in the dirt. So after the intentional walk, they get the strikeout, and now an out away from keeping this at just 1 run scored in the 4th inning. But 1 more out to go, and that's Addison Russell, who struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. Well, we've seen that more than once in this series already.
Well, we saw it with Chris Bryant with that left hand almost underneath the knob of the bat. And Addison Russell has his hands basically in the same spot. You're trying to get that sledgehammer effect with the fat part of the bat going towards the baseball, and sometimes your hands get a little bit too loose.
So that fellow stand up as if to form a protective shield around everybody around him. That guy in a black shirt down there. Him. And thankfully he's okay. Bases loaded, 2 away in the 0-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 2.
If you're DeSclafani here, Tom, you've got to trust Brian Pena to be able to block this ball in the dirt. Start that slider on the plate and let it dip down and away.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Addison Russell.
Pena and DeSclafani having trouble getting to the sign. That's too good of a pitch. You're 1-2 right now on a kid that strikes out a lot. But where Pena set up, his entire mitt was on the plate away. And that's where the ball ended up, on the plate. You're going for a strikeout here. You've got to get it off. That's right down the middle.
31 pitches thrown in this inning by Anthony DeSclafani. An inning which should be over. Cubs given an additional out on the defensive error. And they have them loaded, leaving 2-0 so far. 1-2 on Addison Russell. In the air, right center field, and this is trouble. That is off the wall, and 2 runs scored. They're waving home a third. Here's a throw to the plate, and it's 5-0 Chicago. Russell will advance on to third with a 3-run double.
See where the mid is? It's right on the plate. And the slider stays on the plate. That's a pitch on a 1-2 count. You want the ball to start right on the edge of the outside corner and then get off into the left-handed hitter's batter's box. Got a very aggressive kid at the plate. He's going to swing at anything close. You leave it on the plate. He clears the bases.
A 4-run inning against DeSclafani. That's double the number of runs that he had allowed in his first 3 starts combined. And it's 5-0 Chicago. And a pop up to Cozart will end the inning. 8 come to the plate for score. Middle of the 4th, 5-0 Cubs in front.
IGS bringing the energy. Happy 80th birthday to Bernie Stowe. He started at the age of 12 as the visiting team bat boy way back in 1947. Became the Reds bat boy at age 15. And his career has been phenomenal ever since. And we are up here on the triple play suite level. And the aforementioned Bernie Stowe is here, 80 years of age. Up here is a massive party. All of his friends and his large family is up here, and they are joining me in applause and saluting Bernie Stowe. Happy 80th birthday to the, you could call this guy Mr. Cincinnati, Tom and Cowboy.
Well, there is no doubt about it. Boy, one of the most wonderful people you will ever have the honor of spending time around, if you're fortunate enough to spend any time around him during your life.
Well, not only Bernie, but Rick and Mark, I can't tell you how much they took care of me when I was here. Check out those baseballs.
I mean, what a personality on this guy. Just so full of life, so much fun, funny. He slowed down a little bit here in recent years, but the old boy is still hanging in there.
He's still got a little dry wit to him.
Billy Hamilton lines one to the left, and a good play by Coghlan to run it down. You know, we had the 1990 celebration 25-year reunion of that World Championship Club over the weekend. Barry Larkin and Lou Piniella talking about Bernie Stowe.
I think he did his homework. I think he spent a lot of time talking to Bernie Stowe about what makes these guys click.
Interesting.
And then
that is interesting.
And then he comes into spring training, and day one he sits everybody down and says, I don't like losing, I don't accept losing, and we're not going to lose. He set the tone.
Lou Piniella writing in his letter, memories of Bernie Stone that year. And Jose Rio made the comment that the highlight of his weekend during this 25-year reunion was to see Bernie.
He used to pull so many pranks on us. And I'm talking about Bernie, not Jose.
And you're right what you said about his family, not only Mark and Rick, but all their brothers and sisters and their kids and their families.
Family of class.
And of course, they are all about their beloved Elder Panthers. Even to this day, Bernie on Friday nights at the Pit, one of the great venues in really any high school in America. The Pit, where they play their football games at Elder. The entire Stowe family will be there. And Priscilla's been alongside every step of the way. God bless her soul. As Votto's gone on strikes, and Arrieta is chewing them up and spitting them out so far today. That Hamilton ball was by far the hardest hit ball. In fact, it's one of only 2 balls that left the infield.
I think the Reds knew coming into this ball game that getting abundance of runs against Jake Arrieta were going to take some tremendous at bats. And the toughest part about Arrieta, Tom, is every pitch looks the same. He cuts it away from you, then he cuts it in, away, in, and you really don't know which way the ball is going to go. It comes on the same plane every time to the plate, and he's throwing 93 to 95.
Frasier down the left field line towards the corner, and the Reds are on the board. Their first hit and their first run.
How about that swing? Well, we know Frasier's using a lot bigger bat than he has in the past. But that looked like he was bailing out towards Jim Riggleman, the third base coach, and then he just drops the head. Watch where the backside goes. What? Oh! That's just bat leverage right there. That's one of those things you hear about it all the time, Tom. Your body can do a lot of different things as long as you keep your hands back. Well, he kept his hands back.
So now Brandon, he bounced out to the shortstop on the first pitch of his only at bat in the second inning. And that ends a string of 57 innings without allowing a home run by Arrieta. And only the 6th one he has surrendered since opening day of 2014. So we have a long way to go in this one. We're at the bottom of the 4th inning, and the Reds get a run back. They trail 5-1. And it's a ball and a strike on Brandon Phillips. One ball and 2 strikes. Arrieta to Phillips, and that one served into right field. A base hit. That's a nice piece of 2-strike hitting right there by Brandon Phillips, and the inning will continue for Brendan Bosch.
I think anything that the Reds can do, even with 2 outs here, you try to get this guy out of his rhythm, and that guy being Jake Arrieta. You put him in the stretch, Try to get him off his arm release point, hand release, anything that you can do to keep him out of the strike zone.
Brennan Bosch grounded out to Castro, his only at bat today. And on his first pitch of the game, working out of the stretch, he misses badly for ball 1.
Arrieta, you and I talked about this earlier, Tom. When he's able to stay in the same kind of pocket without a whole lot of pressure, he's money. And he is right on the strike zone. Now you move him around a little bit, you hit the ball back up the middle, you call timeout, you put a little pressure on him. Then he starts to have to manipulate that ball a little more with his hands. He squeezes it a little tighter, doesn't quite make the same pitches that he made earlier. Now all of this is coming with 2 outs. He can make a mistake and get it out. You got to start an inning and try to put the pressure on him.
Nowhere near the strike zone these first 2 pitches out of the stretch. And then the second, I was getting ready to say before the pitch was even thrown, it's not picking on Bosch, but I just wonder, and you and I talk about this kind of thing seemingly every day. I just really wonder, it's not only the Reds, I just wonder about how much game planning there is on things like that. If there is a tendency in the past, and he throws 2 pitches in a row out of the strike zone, does a guy say, okay, I'm going to make him throw a strike before I'm going to swing at a pitch? I mean, maybe that's not a good strategy anyway. I don't know. Two and 2 the count. Bosch has offered it 3 in a row, and the count is 2-2 as he fouls that one off. Right back up into center field, a base hit. Bosch has hit the ball very hard twice today, finds a hole this time, and now all of a sudden with Marlon Byrd coming up, you've got a chance to really get closer to Arrieta and the Cubs.
Let's go back to the 2-0 philosophy that you were talking about earlier, because I think that if it's 2-0 and you have a chance to tie the ball game or put your team ahead, albeit, I don't care if that thing bounces 40 feet out there. If you're guessing fastball and that's your pitch, go for it. But when you're down 4 runs and it's 2-0, you have to be a little bit more selective in what the pitch is you're going to swing at, because you need base running.
Well, the Reds have 2 of them on singles after the home run by Frasier from Phillips and Bosch, and a strike 1 on Marlon Byrd, who grounded out, got jammed with a pitch, and pushed a ground ball, was thrown out by Addison Russell.
Now let's remember that philosophy is coming from a pitcher in the big leagues, not a hitter. I want you to swing at that 2-0 backdoor breaking ball I'm throwing and get me out of here with 1 pitch.
That one's down the right field line towards the corner, and that is a foul ball. Boy, if that one lands fair. Bosch, who runs very, very well. Bosch is tall and lean, and he can run. He was almost at third base.
Just that little bit of action gets the fans back in this bad boy.
Byrd with some work to do behind an account at 0 balls and 2 strikes. 2 on, 2 out.
This at bat is prototypical Arrieta. Run it in, 2-seamer, cut it away, run it in, cut it away. And as a hitter, you've got to make that split-second decision which way you're going with the bat head. Otherwise, you end up missing the baseball.
Once more, the 0-2 delivery to Marlon Byrd. They chased one up, but managed to put the bat on it to foul it away. Two-strike hits are mighty tough to come by against this guy. The Reds had base hits with 2 strikes in each of the last 2 hitters. Look where Arrieta ranks there, going back to the start of last year.
All 5 of those guys have some pretty nasty breaking balls that they can control in or out of the strike zone. Made a mistake right there.
Byrd continues to foul him away after falling behind 0-2.
Guarantee you that's not where Arrieta wanted that fastball. That was belt high, running right back over the heart of the plate. They go back to the slider down and away here.
Reds need a big hit. They were 0 for 14 with runners in scoring position here on Friday night. They had so many chances to break that 3-3 tie. Leadoff double in the bottom of the 7th. They had 2 on, nobody out in the 8th inning. Bottom of the 10th. Leadoff man aboard, 2 on with 1 out. He did not go around. They'll appeal it. And it's 1-2 on Byrd.
Big sweeping slider, and that's where you want a 2-strike pitch. Looks like it's a strike, and it is way off the plate.
Tried that breaking ball in the inside corner and missed.
Well, they had been alternating plate sides, breaking ball away, fastball in for the first 4 or 5 pitches. Tries to start that curveball right at his hands, make it look like a fastball and bring it over the plate, but it backed up.
All right, Byrd has worked the count even at 2-2, 2 on and 2 out. Montero will throw 2 in the inning. Byrd strikes out. Frasier a home run. Reds are trailing by 4 at the end of 4. Giants here at the ballpark as part of Super Saturday. So first 25,000 fans receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead, presented by John Morrell. 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com/tickets. JB. Johnny recently in town, not only for opening day, he was also the featured speaker out at the Marymount Stag and did a great job out there. Soler to lead things off against DeSclafani, who gave up 4 unearned runs in the last inning. But that doesn't mean that DeSclafani would tell you that he was not in part to blame, unearned or not. He walked the first batter, and as Cowboy pointed out, he really didn't keep a very watchful eye on the runner Rizzo over at first base, who easily stole second. He had an error behind him. He had allowed only the 1 run. After he struck out the pitcher with the bases loaded for the second out of the inning, he got ahead of Addison Russell 2 strikes, and then left one where Russell could do some damage, and he did with a 3-run double. Rizzo started that inning drawing the walk.
This is the at-bat later in the game where Rizzo, in my mind, looks to pull the baseball, looks for something that he can drive right center.
Pena, long run, and he'll get there. That's a
nice
tough play. That's a really nice play indeed by Pena.
Well, DeSclafani got that one right on his knuckles. I'm not sure that Pena saw that ball when he turned. They had a pretty good effort to get there to get it.
And 2 on Bryant. Nothing at 2 on Bryant with 2 down. And that's just off the outside corner. Well, the Reds proved that, Arrieta is human. They had 3 straight hits against him. And so DeSclafani can keep him right here and give your team a shot to get back in this thing. One ball, 2 strike pitch. He set up outside. He missed inside.
DeSclafani has had some issues with the slider from the beginning of the ball game. That one just backed up all the way across the plate.
Came back with a fastball in under his hands, and Bryant able to foul it away. It remains at 2-2. Eighth pitch of this at bat, trying to put away Bryant and the Cubs in a 1-2-3 fifth is DeSclafani, which he does. Good bounce back inning for the young right-hander. To Great American Ballpark and find out how you can do the same. Call 513-765-7600 or visit Reds.com/Fan Express. That's a big way to come to the ballpark now. Ladder third in the batting order for the Reds. It'll be Cozart, Pena, and then the pitcher. 5 runs, 5 hits. They took advantage of an error. Did the Cubbies in a 4-run 4th inning against DeSclafani. Reds got their first base runner. A 2-out solo home run by Frasier. Phillips and Bosch followed with singles, but then a big spot for Marlon Byrd. And Arrieta struck him out. The Reds are hitless in their last 18 at-bats with a runner in scoring position. The last hit they had in that situation. Remember, Tuesday they had the big game where they scored 16 runs. Their first inning the next night against Jimmy Nelson. Billy Hamilton got aboard as Cozart hooks one into left field, a base hit. Joey Votto knocked him in with a run-scoring single in the first inning on Wednesday night. That was the last hit the Reds have had with a runner in scoring position.
Well, right now, Joe Madden is going to do whatever he can to get Arrieta through this inning regardless of the circumstance. With that being the way it is, this is the time that the Reds need to make their move right now. You've got Arrieta in the stretch again, but you've got to make something happen.
Now, Brian Price has already sent out Skip Schumacher to the on-deck circle, and that could be temporary depending on the outcome of this at-bat. In other words, if Pena were to reach and you have 2 on with nobody out, you may not burn Schumacher here. You might send the pitcher, or rather the pitcher, up to put down a bunt. Maybe.
Pretty fair to say the pitches that we've seen out of the stretch from Arrieta, not the same quality of pitches that we see out of the windup.
would assume the Reds have Cinbrani up in that bullpen. I mean, right now he is the guy you bring in when you need to gobble up some innings. Somebody's warming up down there. I beg your pardon. I stand corrected. It's not Cinbrani. It's Kevin Gray. And how about this? Now Schumacher turns around, and just as we speculated, it's not going to be him, but it's also not going to be the pitcher. And they're not sending this pinch hitter up there to put down a bunt. And that would be Devin Mesoraco. Of course, Mesoraco right now is exclusively being used in this role. He cannot play in the field. And much has been made as Bosio will come out, the Cub pitching coach, and visit with Arrieta about whether this is a wise move that's been made by the Reds. You know, and I heard somebody present the option that says, well, would you rather see Devin Mesoraco pinch hitting instead of fill in the blank of anybody that could be here from the minor leagues? And there's no debate that you would rather see Mesoraco than any of the names that you could use to fill in the blank. The question becomes, even if Mesoraco gets on base, A, would you leave him in to run? And if he doesn't get on base, you have to use another player in the field. It's a big at bat right here. Reds with 2 on and nobody out. Mesoraco off the bench. And he looks at ball 1. All of a sudden, this second time through the batting order, the Reds are applying some major pressure to Jake Arrieta. He retired Hamilton and Votto to begin the 4th inning, but sends him home run, single strikeout, single walk.
Arrieta is fine when he's out of the windup, but this stretch, for some reason, takes him away from his consistency.
And he's gone 3-0 on Mesoraco. That's something you pointed out, Cowboy, before this game ever began. And we'll see now. It's one thing to put him in a stretch. It's another thing to keep him in a stretch. And that means base hits. And or walks if he wants to hand them out. Which he does to load the bases with nobody out.
Our pitch by pitch to Devin Mesoraco. The slider misses away. Now this is the money pitch here. It misses just in off the plate. Totally changes the at bat. Now it's 2-0. If you're Arrieta, you got to be careful. He missed away with the breaking ball, missed way in with the fastball, and he walks Mesoraco on 4 pitches.
All right, now Hamilton with the bases loaded. Takes a strike. Hamilton hit the ball hard his last time up, but they had it played perfect. A liner down the left field line, run down by Coughlin, who made a nice play on it. Reds are down 4, but they're loaded with none out. And just like that, Arrieta ahead of Hamilton 0-2. Cozart at third, Pena at second base, and at first base, Devin Mesoraco. Bouncer back up the middle. Hamilton's got a scoop, and they only get the 1 out. Scoring from third is Cozart to make it a 5-2 game. Pena on to third. And Hamilton with the RBI, his 2nd of the year. And now you got the heart of the order coming up.
There are a lot of base runners that, because of where that ball was hit, that would have been an easy 6-3 double play. It was right on top of the second base bag, but because it was Hamilton on the move, no chance.
The Reds are 0 for their last 19 with a runner in scoring position. And they need the big guys to step up right here and right now. Hamilton running on the pitch, and Votto fouls it away down a strike. With all the injuries last year and all the replacement players for the regular players, hard to get on the Reds about their inability to come from behind, as was frequently the case a season ago. That one nearly thrown down the right field line. But this year, they have said themselves they believed they're being overlooked by many and that they are contenders again. And if that's the case, sometimes you got to come back and win some games. We'll see if they're able to do that and do some damage starting right here. Hamilton running. Throw down to second. Forget about it. Stolen base number 13 and 14 tries for Billy Hamilton, and now a base hit by Votto. If indeed he gets a chance to hit, they're not going to intentionally walk him, but if indeed he gets a chance to hit a pitch.
Arrieta did not alter his stretch mechanics in any way, fashion, or form with Hamilton. Big leg kick. There was no chance for Montero to throw him out. Joey had a pitch to hit there, a hanging breaking ball up and out over the plate. He comes unglued, but he gets right underneath it.
One ball, 2 strikes on Votto. Unquestionably, so far in this one, the biggest at bat for a Reds player. You scored single runs in each of the last 2 innings to draw within 3. And now you've got your main man up there with 2 in scoring position and 1 out. Votto 0 for 2 on the day. He's fly to right and struck out. And now a long look in. The 0-2 going to 2-2 to Votto. 3-2.
It's like we're looking at a different pitcher when he's pitching out of the stretch.
Three balls, 2 strikes to Joey Votto. They're loaded. Third walk in this inning alone by Arrieta, who has handed a 5-0 lead in this game. And now it's Frasier, who homered to left field his last time up. It's rare to see Frasier take a first pitch fastball in a situation like this right down Broadway, and this was a home run. Hooked down the line.
That was a curveball he hit out.
Came back with a back-to-back fastballs in this at bat. That's when to back Frasier off the plate a bit. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bases loaded, one away for Todd Frasier. 2 balls and a strike. Frasier clubbed his first career grand slam on Tuesday night in Milwaukee. 2 balls and a strike to the Reds' third baseman. Fooled him with a breaking ball down and away there. 2-2.
Came in 3 consecutive times with a fastball. You can see the slider there. That's not the curveball. That's the slider. It looks like the fastball and then just starts to break away.
Frasier's now 0 for his last 3 with a runner at third and less than 2 men out. Arrieta made a pitch. And the Reds now have Brandon Phillips. The Reds are 0 for their last 20 with a runner in scoring position. Brandon single to right his last time up. They're loaded with 2 away. Reds get a run. They trail by 3. They leave them loaded. We're on our way to the 6th inning. Through the 17th, thanks to Reach Family Magazine. So for $48, you get 4 tickets and you get 4 Reds hats. For that offer and so much more, call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. That'll be a weekend series against the defending world champion Giants. They have won 3 of the last 5 World Championships. It's not bad.
No.
Giants got off to a really slow start. They've been a little better lately. They're still 3 games under 500. And now Kevin Gregg takes over on the mound for Anthony DeSclafani, who allows 5 runs, 1 earned in his 5 innings of work here today. Gregg twice a former Chicago Cub, and one time their closer. Montero started the Cubs scoring back in the 2nd inning, clubbing the first pitch he saw in the at-bat against DeSclafani to the seats in left center. His 3rd home run this year. Kevin Gregg, needless to say, it's been a tough start to his Reds career. 0-2 in 7 games, has allowed 8 hits, 8 earned runs, and 3 home runs.
Well, there's no doubt he's definitely got to figure out a way to get the ball down in the strike zone. And even though that pitch there appeared to be down, that's not down. You've got to have it right on the kneecaps. If you're going to pitch in the middle of the plate, you better really have it low.
And that one fouled right off the mask of Pena. There's a fastball in the inside corner. Montero disagreeing with Las Diaz, but a strikeout for Gregg.
Here's the pitch from Gregg. A fastball, a high strike. But that's your flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. 92 miles an hour.
You put a little hot sauce on your eggs this morning?
I did not.
You did not. How about in your grits?
I did not.
How about in your oatmeal?
I like garlic in my grits.
How about on your cantaloupe?
You hear what I said?
There's a base hit in
garlic on my grits.
Garlic?
Garlic cheese, please.
Nice.
It is nice. Especially when you got a big pound of bacon written in there with you.
You don't really eat a pound of bacon, do you? I mean, when you're with the family and you're down in Mississippi in the wintertime and you go to church and you come back and you cook up a little brunch at home. I mean, you physically are not eating a pound of bacon.
That full pack, basically. That's what you mean. I don't know how much it weighs. I just go by the pack. Well, I'll tell you this. I cook it. If they don't eat it, I'm eating it. We got a 10-minute rule. Daddy's sharing for 10 minutes. After that, free for all.
After that old adage, you better watch your fingers and toes, right? Because Papa Bear.
Don't reach out there with your hand. Don't reach with your hand. Reach with your fork, boys.
By the pack.
I don't know how much that stuff weighs. Just grab it.
No, I think it varies. You know, from pack to pack. One and one on Coughlin. And now a ball and 2 strikes. Reds trying to keep it right here. Cubs got a run in the 2nd, 4 unearned runs in the 4th inning. Reds with single runs in the 4th and the 5th, but boy, they missed a big chance. It took a ground out to knock in their only run when they had the bases loaded, the top of the order coming up, and nobody out in the 5th. Struck him out.
Greg just pounding Coughlin in here. See where that fastball starts in off the plate, running back to the edge and sinking as well.
Well, Brian Price still very much believes that Greg is going to get it together. But of course, the question every manager, general manager, pitching coach, fan, everybody has to ask is, how long do you wait for anybody, not just Kevin Gregg, but how long do you wait for a guy to get it together?
I think part of what you'd like to see is progress in times out, each time out. There's plenty of guys out there that struggle early in the season, some struggle in the middle, but you want to see them work themselves out of those struggles.
Well, he looks to be throwing the ball a little better so far here today. The results are better, that's for sure.
Velocity much better. The extension is what I see that's better, because that's what's giving him the sink in the late life on the fastball.
Arrieta was on the ropes in that last inning. And boy, he pulled a Houdini act out, getting Frasier with the bases loaded and 1 out to pop up. And then got Phillips on a ground out to end the inning. Tapper down to Frasier the short way, inning over. Good work by Gregg. Allows a hit, nobody left. Reds coming up, trailing by 3.
Park as part of Super Saturdays. First 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead. It's presented by John Morrell. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to reds.com/tickets. JB bobblehead. That'll be a big day, boys.
Well, it sure will. Well, a big chance for the Reds now here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Got to believe this would be the final inning either way for Arrieta. Although we'll see. He begins this inning with 92 pitches. He's been in trouble each of the last 2 innings, run scoring innings for the Reds, but wiggled off the hook, getting key outs of Bird in the 4th, Frasier and Phillips back to back with the bases loaded in the 5th. Running Bosch in the hole. Bosch can run. And how about that play from Castro? I'm not sure you'll watch all year long and see a better play than that right there.
Not only the play with the glove, catching the ball on the short hop, Watch this ball as it picks it. He's sliding on his hands and he throws it from his back knee, and he throws a perfect bullet to first base. Wow.
And that's what I was speaking of in regard to the play. We've seen a lot of guys make a nice backhanded play like that. Not many throw from one knee across the diamond to get a good base run or a good runner.
That was a great play. And we've seen Castro's arm. We know he's got a strong arm, but that was silly.
And considering where we are and where his pitcher is and when he's had to pitch out of the stretch, as you pointed out before it ever occurred in this game, that's a big play.
Major help.
I mean, all of a sudden you're talking about leadoff man aboard, and maybe some of the Cubs thinking, well, you know, here we go. Bird was a big out for Arrieta in the 4th inning. Reds got a home run by Frasier to get on the board for the first time. Singles followed from Phillips and Bosch, and in an extended at bat, he got Bird swinging to retire the side. 2-2 on Marlon Bird. Tony Cingrani is throwing now in the Reds bullpen. And it appears as though we are going to see Cingrani for the first time in forever. What a play made by a fan in the second row of the second deck. Well done. Two away here in the Reds' 6th inning. Bird 0 for 3. 5 strikeouts now for Arrieta. Following our game today and every game here on Fox Sports Ohio, be sure to stick around for Reds Live. Brought to you by Performance Kings Hyundai. 2 down for Cozart. He started that single run scoring 5th with a single into left field, and he scored the run on the fielder's choice ground ball by Hamilton. See where Miami's starting to play a little better here. I only bring that up because of who they're playing well against, and that would be the Washington Nationals, who have lost 4 in a row. And Miami beating up on Washington today. The Nationals lose that game, they go to 7-12 on the year, and they have been picked by virtually everybody to play in the World Series this year. There's strike 3 called, and Arrieta, a 1-2-3 6th inning. Cubs still lead 5-2. summer. Please visit the T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest, the world's largest interactive baseball theme park. That'll be at the Duke Energy Convention Center July 10th through the 14th. And you can get tickets for that right now at allstargame.com. Five runs, 6 hits for Chicago, 2 runs, 4 hits, 2 errors for the Reds. We have only seen him one time for 1/3 of an inning in nearly 2 full weeks of baseball, and that is Reds left-hander Tony Cingrani. He takes over here in the 7th inning.
And I'll say this in defense of Cingrani, whether he does good, bad, or ugly today, when you sit for that long without any game action, it makes it very difficult to control not only your adrenaline and all the things that go into taking the mound. It's very difficult to control your pitches because your arm feels like you've never thrown before. I mean, it is live as it can get.
Christopher Negron, as part of a double switch, will take over and play left field. He'll bat 9th, which means he's due up 2nd when the Reds bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. Addison Russell takes up and away, ball 1. Straight up in the air, and this should be out number 1. Cingrani will give way to Votto. You can't blame really Cingrani for being upset, as we started to talk about his situation going into spring training this year. Now, you try to look at all sides of the equation, and if you're Cingrani, you know that in 2013, most of the time, you filled in the spot vacated by the injured Johnny Cueto. You go 7-4 in 18 starts, with an ERA at 2.7 in the games in which you start. He had that major league record where to start a career, in his first 22 starts, he did not allow 5 hits in any of them. And how he did it seemed to become more important, or the biggest story, than if he was doing it. And it's something Cowboy alluded to earlier about, 88, 90-something% fastballs. But the bottom line is that the numbers don't lie. And then he got a lot of people out. Well, he comes back last year, and they're really working hard on getting Cingrani to find that secondary pitch that he can throw for a strike. So he's not throwing an overabundance of fastballs. As there's strike 3 to Fowler on a 93-mile-per-hour fastball on the outside corner. He also deals with some injuries, which ultimately leads him to missing most of the season with shoulder problems.
Well, there's a fastball there to Dexter Fowler, and that's about as good of a location as you can put the ball. Now, what I was going to say is that when Cingrani throws the ball, even if he throws you 6 or 7 fastballs in a row, they don't all look the same, simply because of his release point. He's got a long, loose arm in the back, and then a little bit of a hitch right before the ball comes to the plate. What that tells me is the fastball doesn't always come out of doesn't always come out of that same arm slot. And he has an ability to elevate the fastball with regularity, where a lot of guys can't do that, and he gets swings and misses or pop-ups.
3-0 the count on Soler. So now you move forward to 2015. Reds trade away Latos for a guy who's not proven himself yet in the big leagues, in DeSclafani. They bring in a veteran in Jason Marquis. And Cingrani's looking at the big picture and saying, all right, I have a legitimate chance to be back where I want to be, and that's a shot in the starting rotation. That last halfway through spring training. He is called into the manager's office and told no longer is he in the hunt for a spot in the rotation. He has been moved to the bullpen. I thought he handled himself with a tremendous amount of class, although he wasn't upset. He didn't start screaming and yelling about I want to be traded and all that. Now, we don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Well, he handled it out there in front of everyone about as good as you can handle it. If you had not been disappointed, I would have been worried about it.
Well, there's that high fastball, and if guys chase it again, how you do it and if you are doing it continues to be the debate on Cingrani. He works a perfect seventh. We're going to keep it right here, as we do every Sunday, for the singing of God Bless America. The Reds will bat in the bottom of the 7th inning, trailing the Cubs 5-2.
Armed forces, as well as those who serve to protect in our local police and fire departments. At this time, please help us honor these brave men and women and all our veterans of service as we welcome Eason Walker, who will lead us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Beautiful Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati. Reds trying to earn a split in this 2-game series after we were rained out yesterday. They trail by 3, and if they're going to come back, it'll be against the Chicago bullpen. And here's a young man in Zach Roscup who did not even begin the year with a major league club. And man, since they brought him up, which is while the Reds were in Chicago a little more than a week ago, he has been lights out.
Well, the key for Roscup is throwing strikes, not just with the breaking ball, but he is being really aggressive with the fastball. When you bring somebody out of the bullpen and you've got a lead, that's what you want. Throw strikes, work quick, and keep them swinging.
Arrieta walked 3 batters in 1 inning. That was his walk total for the afternoon in 6. Struck out 6, allowed 4 hits and 2 earned runs. Pena, Negron, then Billy Hamilton. Foul ball.
Yeah, before we get too far away from this, Tom, the young man that sang God Bless America, Eson Walker, he got it going on. St. Xavier High School, is that how you say that?
St. Xavier, the Bombers. That's Chris Welsh's alma mater.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
This kid's got a future with that voice now. I've heard him more than one, not just today. He's done this more than one time. He can jam.
This will be handled by Coughlin in short left field, and that's out number 1. Negron will bat for the first time since coming on as part of a double switch in the top of this inning to take over for Bird in left. Reds have 4 hits. 3 of the 4 came consecutively in the 4th inning. They could not get a single hit with the bases loaded in the 5th and nobody out.
Tom, if you look around at guys that are considered number 1s or number 2s, if you get one shot at them in a ball game, you're pretty fortunate. But those are the times you have to take advantage of it and make sure you do the small things to get the runs in for your club. The Reds were able to do that in Chicago. They got 3 runs in 1 inning against Arrieta. Today, they had a chance with the 2 outs in the 4th. They got 1 run out of it. They had a major opportunity in the 5th, as you mentioned earlier. Didn't happen. And if you're going to beat a guy like that, that's when you've got to make it happen.
Whitehead, Soler, hard hit ball by Negron. And the first 2 retired by Roscup here in the 7th.
You look at the guys that came to the plate in the 5th inning, Tom. Hamilton, Votto, Frasier, Phillips. Would you expect that this would be the guy that would have gotten the RBI? There was only 1 in the inning.
Two and 1 to Billy Hamilton, trying to give Votto a chance to hit here in the 7th. That ball stung to center field, and when you play that shallow, that's a penalty you're going to pay. This will be a 3-base hit easily for Hamilton, his 2nd of the year.
How about that little jump, little courtesy jump by Fowler? I'm not sure I've seen an outfielder turn and just take off, and he gives you that the little league courtesy jump. Watch Fowler out in center field. I know I'm not going to get it. Woohoo! No chance. Well, that's when it's really fun to watch Hamilton go. Goodness gracious.
And I mean, Castro caught that ball on the relay from Fowler and did not even hesitate for a moment and fired straight to the plate, knowing that Hamilton would consider sprinting around the bases. So now Votto gets a second chance. Now, he walked his last time up, but as you pointed out, Cowboy, he had a couple of pitches to hit in that at bat with the bases or runners at second and third in that situation. Arrieta hung a breaking ball to him, but Joey waved through. Wound up drawing the walk. 2-0 on Votto. Nowhere close there. 3-0. The Reds are hitless in their last 21 at bats with a runner in scoring position. Well, he just said here it is on 3-1 right there. Fastball at 93 right down the can. Three and two to Joey. I mean, there is zero backing down in this at bat by Roscoe.
Well, there's no reason for him to back down. It's a 5-2 game. He's got a 3-run lead. Even if Votto hits it out of the ballpark, the Cubs are still winning. That's the mentality you should take into the ball game when you come from the bullpen. If it's a 1-run lead, it's a different story.
Another fastball. That's 3 in a row. Actually 4 in a row because Votto took the 3-0 fastball all the way. That's 4 consecutive fastballs, 3 of which Votto swung at.
And you're talking about the best hitter that the Reds can present to the plate right now. That shows you how hard it is to hit that ball. You should have some confidence on the mound.
Another fastball.
And we're not talking Chapman fastballs. He's just coming after him. Get ahead, move it around.
Came with a breaking ball to strike him out. We go to the 8th. Cubs in front of the Reds, a 5-2 score. 3. A home run by Montero made it 1-0 over DeSclafani in the second inning. But major league trouble in the fourth. Cubs had a 2-0 lead with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Addison Russell drove one off the wall in right center, plating 3. All 4 runs in the inning were unearned runs. Reds got a solo home run by Frasier in the fourth. But in that inning, they had 2 more singles. Could not bring any runs home. They had the bases loaded with nobody out in the 5th. And they scored 1 run on a fielder's choice ground ball. So here we go in the 8th. Tony Cingrani to begin his second inning. He went 1, 2, 3 in the 7th. The Reds dominated the Cubs for so many years over the last 5. It's been embarrassing if you're a Cub fan how bad you have been manhandled by the Reds. But last September, when the Reds went rolling into Chicago, it was the Reds who were shut down in a 3-game sweep. Reds went there for 3 this year. Cubs won 2 out of 3. And here the Cubs now are 6 outs away from a 2-game series sweep in Cincinnati, their first visit in 2015. You know, you look up and down this Cubs lineup here today, along with their manager, of course. But Fowler wasn't here a year ago. Soler was only here for the end last year. Rizzo's been here. Bryant, no. Montero, no. Castro, yes. Coghlan, no. I mean, he was around last year when they started to get it turned a little bit. And of course, Russell, he's never been in the big leagues. 2-2 on Rizzo. Talked about a great crowd here today, almost 39,000. Line to center field. 4 up and 4 down for Tony Cingrani. Plenty of tickets are available the next 3 days, 2 nights and a day game with Milwaukee in town. So I invite you to come down to the ballpark. Reds will have Marquis v. Nelson tomorrow night. Cueto against Loesch on Tuesday night. Mike Leake against Matt Garza. That'll be on Wednesday. Milwaukee ended that long losing streak, winning the final game against the Reds of the 4-game series. They've lost back-to-back games against St. Louis. And they are 3-15, although leading St. Louis today 3-0 that game in the 3rd inning. Leake was to have started the series opener were it not for the rain out yesterday down in Atlanta Thursday night. Now that will be Homer Bailey. This Leake is moved up to Wednesday night or Wednesday against Milwaukee. The tapper to the left side on a breaking ball from Cingrani. Takes care of Bryant. 5 in a row retired by this Reds left-handed. Well, we've told you before, it's April in the OHIO on Fox Sports Ohio, and you can win a great sports experience like lunch with Brian Pena, an autographed jersey, a $500 cash card. Just text April in Ohio to 733-733. Message and data rates may apply. Looks like the Cavaliers are going to march on here on Fox Sports Ohio into the next round. Understand Kevin Love injured his shoulder early on in the game today, but at last check in going for the 4-game sweep in the opening round of the playoffs over Boston. Cavaliers had a big lead in that one. Yeah, you can pretty much phone that in. They're ahead by 16 with 2:45 to play. And that's playing almost that entire game without Love. 1-2 on Montero. Cingrani's spot due up 4th when the Reds bat in the 8th inning. I'll tell you what, you can't do much better than Cingrani did here today. We wondered after all the time off, Cowboy, about his command.
He was money.
6 in a row retired by Cingrani.
Reds Live, the pregame edition. Everything you need to know to get ready for the game. It's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And tomorrow, the boys will be previewing a pitching matchup that features Jason Marquis going to the hill. He'll go against Jeff Nelson. As you look at the pitching matchups for the entire series, and Tom and Cowboy, you guys are talking about this earlier about Johnny Cueto. Normally, they've been at him in the past to keep him on that 5-day schedule. So they had a chance with yesterday's rainout to skip their 5th starter, Jason Marquis. But in this instance, before the game, Brian Price said he threw 125 pitches his last time out. So on this time around, it'd be more prudent for us to let Cueto have that extra day. So that is why he is going on Tuesday, and they did not skip their 5th starter.
Alrighty, Jimbo, thank you very much. Well, the Cubs have had no problems when they have the lead in the 8th inning when they bring on Pedro Strop. 9 games. League hitting .083 against him. He's only walked 2 and punched out 10.
And this is another pitcher that came over in that Scott Feldman trade from Baltimore a couple of years ago, along with the starter that pitched today, Jake Arrieta. Cubs got some pretty good arms out of that deal.
You just think about that deal in and of itself. They have an outstanding setup man in Strop. They have a guy that's become one of the better starters in a little more than a year in the National League. And The last time I checked, Feldman is no longer pitching for Baltimore.
Well, I think that the reason that the Orioles felt that these two right arms were expendable is they had difficulty commanding the strike zone. They walked a lot of guys, especially Arrieta in the starting role. But obviously Chris Bosio over here in Chicago has straightened that out in a hurry.
That's off the end of the bat. Still a long way to go, but Fowler will hang on, one away. Strop still walked 25 batters in 61 innings last year. But I mean, you look at the entire body of work. Pitched 102 games for the Cubs since coming over in 2013 and an ERA of under 2.4.
I think most teams would take that. I'm being facetious. Given.
Now, if the Cubs continue to play pretty well and they're right in the middle of things, say right around the All-Star game, and now all of a sudden they start playing big games over the second half of the season. Guys like Rondon and Strop, as there's a tapper down to third, they will very much be under the microscope of how they pitch in big games. That's something that really nobody on this Cub team has either pitched in and played in for a long, long time. I mean, they haven't been to the playoffs in 6 years. So that's something to keep an eye on, but they're not worried about that today. They just want to know on this April the 26th, does Strop walk in the gate with a 3-run lead and shut you down?
I don't think there's any real pressure for any club until you're the one being chased. If you're chasing the bear, you can always stop. He's chasing you, you better get on your horse.
And you and I both know how Chicago works. I mean, theoretically, say you're trailing the Cardinals in the division, but you're the leader for a wild card, and you start showing up at Wrigley in August and September,
the hammer drops.
There will be pressure. (2-0) on Brennan Bosch. Well, he's hit the ball right in that spot 3 times today, and one for a single. Hard is right. Strop a perfect 8. Go to the 9th. Cubs lead by 3. Josh Hall, our director today is Brian Hunterman. Associate producer is Kevin Pennewitt. And Jim Mueller. Reds Live produced by Kent Weaver. The coordinating producer of Reds Baseball, Bob Pennell. Our executive producer at Fox Sports Ohio is Tom Farmer. We thank Jesse Jackson, Jim Strickler, Dickie Moss, and Joel Luckham as part of our crew right up here in the old booth. And J.J. Hoover follows 2 perfect innings from Tony Cingrani, fan 2. Hoover was good in extra innings here on Friday night.
Seems like Hoover's thrown the ball very well every time out except the one outing. And that came in Milwaukee, and he just could not find the strike zone. He was falling off towards the first base side and just couldn't get it corrected.
Reds in the bottom of the 9th inning will have Bird, the pitcher spot, or Kozar, and then Pena. And I would imagine we will see Rondon out of the Chicago bullpen. He is their closer. 2-2 on Starlin Castro.
Cingrani looked really good today. Not just the stuff. I'd throw that out the window. I think he's always got stuff. But his composure and his aggressiveness in the strike zone.
There is Rondon along with the left-hander Phil Koch. Phillips gobbles up the ground ball and just does throw out Castro hustling up that line. That is something Castro's been criticized for from time to time during his major league career. But hustling all the way on that routine ground ball in the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. Tell you what, they can talk about all these other guys and they have a pile of them. I'll tell you that Castro is still one talented player.
I don't think there's ever been a question about talent. It was about being able to put it all together.
Breaking ball lifted Hamilton's way off the bat of Coghlan.
But there comes a point in time in every player's career, whether you're young or old, where a manager has to convince you that your style of play is not just about you anymore. It's about the other guys that are around you. And if you play up to your potential and up to your ability, the other guys will follow. And I guarantee you that's a conversation that Madden has had with one Starlin Castro.
Castro already has 4 full, really 5 full big league seasons, and he's 25. The only bad year he had was 2 years ago when that batting average slipped from 300, 307, 283 to 245, and then last year came back at 292. He got hurt at the end of the year, so he missed a month. But he still hit 14 home runs, had 33 doubles, and drove in 65 runs. He's had over 200 hits in a season. Breaking ball in there, a beauty. 1-2 on Castillo. Batting for the pitcher. Cubs only have 1 hit since that 3-run double to right center field in the 4-run 4th inning by Addison Russell. But their relievers have slammed the door. They get the final inning from Arrieta in the 6th, 1-2-3. Hamilton had a 2-out triple in the 7th, was stranded there. And Stroke with a perfect 8th. Reds are hoping to change that tune in the bottom of the 9th inning. 3-2 to Castillo. And a 2-out walk. Russell, our steel power tool performer. Well, he's had a dreadful series at the plate. But he got a pitch to hit with the bases loaded and 2 outs. And he did not miss it.
And a 1-2 count.
And now he'll bat.
I think of all the pitches in the game that DeSclafani threw, that would be the one that he would take back. Not the home run. Because that was a strikeout waiting to happen.
Inning over. A walk, a strikeout, no hits, no runs. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th. One more shot at him. Trailing by 3. On Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Let's take a look at our Miller Time moment, presented by Miller Lite. This was one of the best plays we've seen. Look where he throws this ball from. In the hole, it's short on one knee. Wow. Bosch can scoot up that line a little bit.
Okay, you'll see some shortstops make that play. You'll see him throw from one knee, but not that kind of throw. That baby had some hair on it.
Now Hector Rondon, the Cubs closer. 3 of 4 and saved chances. Struck out 7, walked 1. Jay Bruce, a pinch hitter. First pitch swinging. Bruce is just mired in a terrible slump right now. There's just no other way to describe it. Jim Day brought up earlier that yesterday they had made the decision, they being Brian Price and his staff, to give Bruce a day off. A batting average at 164. Bruce gone swinging to begin the ninth.
It's like Montero set up away there, but that ball was right in the heart of the plate.
Be out number 2 here in the Reds' ninth. Reds had a run on 3 hits in the 4th inning. They had the bases loaded with nobody out in the 5th. They have not had. Well, in that inning, they scored their only run on a fielder's choice ground out. Their only hit since the 5th inning was a 2-out triple by Hamilton in the 7th. DeSclafani in line to lose for the first time as a Red. He's been so good. Go to 2-1. And Arrieta would go to 3-1. With a win. Rondon and out away from his 4th save of the season. And nothing but strikes from Rondon coming out of that bullpen.
You make it a lot easier on the opponent when they're the ones coming in with the 3- and 4-run lead. You got a 1-run difference or a tie ball game, a little more heat on you on the mound than 3 or 4 runs.
Reds bullpen did a nice job today. Gregg, Cingrani, and Hoover combined for 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. And that one dropped down the right field line off the bat of Pena. And the Reds are not finished quite yet. This will be a double by Pena. You have Negron coming up.
Like a breaking ball. Stayed middle in. Pena just hooks it down the line. Swipe of Montero almost looked like he was trying to catch that ball before he hit it. No, no, no. Oh.
Well, you'd love to at least get Votto to the plate in this 9th inning. Because if that happens, you give yourself a chance to win this thing. Ball 1 on Negron. Chris lined out to right his only time up when he came into the game in the 7th inning. One ball and 2 strikes on Christopher Negron. Trying to keep the Reds' hopes alive is Negron. Pena 2-out double here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Reds trailing 5-2. That's all she wrote. Cubs take care of a 2-game sweep. A final count here today of 5-2. Reds Live coming up.